presentation is on the article Chapter 5, Social Studies Unit, Colonial Times and the American Revolution by Ruth Swinney and Patricia Velasco. So some context for this article. One of the main concerns when teaching content area curriculum is to make sure the subject matter is accessible to the students without simplifying the material. And then when teaching history and social studies curriculum, some things that are involved are background knowledge about American history and institutions, increasing cognitive demands, knowledge of technical vocabulary relevant to subject area, and literacy skills including reading, writing, speaking, researching, and organizing information in English. So these are some things that teachers should keep in mind when teaching a class with history and social studies curriculum.
The article summary is very important, but these strategies used in this article are part of the social studies curriculum used in New York's teacher Rachel Bard's fourth grade classroom. Miss Bard's classroom consists of long-term English language learners from Spanish-speaking backgrounds with low literacy skills in both languages. The sample unit focuses colonial revolutionary periods. Miss Bard's major concerns are students' lack of background knowledge and inference skills. A quote from the summary is, "A big challenge in my class is getting students to draw a conclusion that combines information they already have with new information they are learning from books and from discussions." This article provides strategies and tools to help students develop background knowledge, concepts, and language skills.
So while there are many useful instructional strategies in this article, one that stood out was pictures and illustrations. And the purpose of this strategy is to help students grasp concepts without an overload of language. It also helps students make inferences and visualize historical moments. This strategy also prepares students for the use of primary documents, which are used frequently in history and social studies curriculum. This strategy was used in a lesson on comparing the life of the Iroquois in New York State before the colonization with the life of the Dutch as they settled in the area. So the first step of this strategy is students examine two illustrations, one of the Iroquois and one of the Dutch settlement. The second step is the teacher guides students in making inferences and asking questions. Number 3, the teacher writes students' observations in a T-chart divided into two parts. I noticed, and this tells me. Number 4, students copy the chart in their notebooks for later use. Step 5, the teacher shows students two more illustrations, asking them to describe what the appearances of the Iroquois and the settlers says about each group. Step 6, as students discuss, the teacher writes the ideas on the chart. Step 7, students are organized into small groups and then asked to make observations based on the illustrations found in textbooks provided by the teacher. And step 8, after 15 minutes, students come back together and share their findings with the rest of the class. This is another chart option that can be used by teachers using this strategy. Step 1 is observation, step 2 inference, and step 3 questions, and then it has 3 categories for each step that students can use to guide them. And connections to future classroom. This strategy would be great to use in an entry task, and I have used it in one of my own lesson plans where at the beginning of class students were given a picture of Stalin, Churchill, and FDR at the Yalta Conference, and then students were asked to make observations and discuss with their group members. And then the class comes together to discuss the observations. And then finally, the teacher shares the context of the picture, which sets the scene in students' minds for the rest of the lesson, which will be on the Yalta Conference and be more language heavy.
The second strategy was questions and language prompts. The purpose of this is to help students know the type of questions to ask. It helps students be able to write proper sentences as well as make inferences about the historical events in writing form. The lesson with this is discussing and writing about the relationship between the colonial times and the American Revolution as a whole. The first step is students will be asked to write questions comparing and contrasting times in history. Step 2 is they will use prompts that the teacher provides so the student can connect with new and old. Step 3 is the students will make inferences with the prompts. Step 4 is the students will also be able to make syntheses with the sentence starters the teacher provides. Step 4 is the students will do a short writing assignment on their own. After the students write their assignment, they will join a small group and talk about their assignments and help if a peer student needs it. Step 6 is the students will join the teacher in a discussion about their writing and the style in which they wrote. This table shows a lot of language prompts or sentence starters for the students, as well as certain questions that can be asked by the teacher to help them grasp what they are learning. Ways to connect this to the future classroom is for writing discussions. While giving instructions on the writing assignment, the students will be given prompt questions. The students will break off into small groups and create sentence starters based on the ones the teacher provides. After writing, they will talk with the whole class to understand how helpful sentence starters can be for writing.
And then we came up with a couple of discussion questions. The first question is, how might the pictures and illustrations strategy need to be adjusted depending on students' language proficiency levels? This is because some students will have higher proficiency levels and some students will have lower proficiency levels. And teachers might need to make adjustments um, so that students can learn effectively um, no matter what their proficiency level is.
The second question we came up with was, how would questions and language starters impact a diverse classroom? Which mainly is just about if it works for every diverse classroom. Sometimes questions and language starters can't impact the classroom, but most of the time they will.
And then this is our reference page with our APA reference for our article.